Okay everyone, so we're in Adobe Animate about to put in our character and background etc. for our game. A couple of things though we need to learn. So this space here is obviously the screen of our game. That's where the game's gonna happen. Down here we've got our timeline and we've got our layers here. So this is where we're going to be doing a lot of the animations, and a lot of coding will go into this section here. In regard to your layers, you'll need to make sure that you can make and name layers. So to make a new layer, you've got your plus sign in a square, and when you click on it, it makes a new layer. And to name your layers, you just need to double click on the text. Another thing we need to remember is that we've got our tools on the left hand side here, so we'll be using a lot of the black arrow and a little bit of the free transform tool to make things bigger or smaller. And then obviously at the top we've got your main menu, which is file, etc. We'll be using file to import stuff, and we also will be using window for our actions or our code. So yes, let's get started. First, we're going to rename our layers to player_MC and background_MC. So it's very important that we have separate layers for separate things in our game. And on player_MC layer, we're going to file import your PNG document of your character, one of your frames, the first frame of your character from Photoshop. So it should be a transparent PNG document that you import here. Now I don't have a character, so I'm just going to be using a circle. But once you've imported your character, it's very important that you resize it. So you select it with the black arrow and you resize it with the second tool. Hold shift so it doesn't go crazy on you. And then we also need to break it apart. So to do that, you need to select it with the black arrow tool, right click, break apart. And you're going to use the black arrow to kind of highlight around your character, and any transparent background, you're just going to delete it with the backspace key. Don't delete any of your character though. We then need to convert our character into a symbol. So select your character with the black arrow tool, right click, convert to symbol, and we need to name it player_MC. Ensure that it's a movie clip and set the registration to the middle bottom one. Then press OK. We then need to make sure that in the properties section on the right hand side, the instance name needs to be player. To add code, we need to make sure that our player is selected with the black arrow tool. We go up to window actions. From there you're going to choose code snippets and action script, animation, move with keyboard arrows. It should look like this. You just need to make sure that the name player is used. So just check that there is player. If you want to make it that we press the WASD keys instead of up, down, left and right, you just need to change where it says up, down, left, right to WSAD respectively for both sets of codes. There's two sets of code that you'll need to change. Then you can just press Control Enter and a window will pop up with your character there. When you try to press the keys, it won't work straight away. You actually do need to click on it with your mouse, and then you can use the keys to move your character. Okay guys, so we need to start adding our animations into our player symbol. So currently I am in the original timeline. I need to go within this symbol to add the animations for the idle, so not moving, if you can have it breathing or just swaying, whatever you want, for going forward, so whether that's a run or a walk, and going up, so whether that's a jump. So to do that, to go into this in a timeline, you need to use the black arrow tool and you need to double click on your symbol here. Now you'll notice that all the other layers have disappeared. So this is our timeline, and for each of these frames it's going to be for something different. So for example, this one here is going to be for the idle. So if I double click on it, I can write in the label here, so I'm going to call it idle, and it will just pop up on my little frame here. and I'm going to go to the next frame and I'm going to press F7. So F7 creates an empty frame. So you can kind of see the difference between this frame and this frame here. This one has got a solid black dot, this one does not. So what we need to do is we need to file import the first frame of your run cycle. So file, import to stage, and it's exactly the same way that you imported your character the first time. This document that you're importing of the first frame of your run or walk animation needs to have a transparent background, it needs to be cropped, and it needs to be a PNG. So once you've done that, you will need to resize it as well, and just make sure that it is in the same spot and the same size as your idol. Now again, I don't have one, so I'm just going to create a circle, and look, I'll keep it green so you can kind of tell that that animation is playing when I use my arrow keys. So I'm just checking, I need to move this one, back arrow tool, I'm just going to move this one up a little bit. I can use my arrow keys if it's being annoying. And that's pretty good. Alright, so that is my run, so I'm going to click on that frame up here with label, I'm going to call it run. So it's labeled so I can see it, and then the next one is going to be my jump. So F7 again, empty frame, you will file import the first frame of your jump animation. You'll do all of that, resize it, etc. I'm just going to choose my little circle and I'm going to choose a different color so you can tell that that is the animation that is running. And again, just making sure, back arrow, nudge if I need to, check that it's roughly around the same size, it's a little bit smaller. Hold shift when you do this sizing. Now mine's snapping, it's really annoying. To fix that, you need to go to view, and there's a section called snapping, and you just need to click on all of the ones that've got ticks on it. So you'll unclick it. It's really annoying, you have to keep going back to it, but you know. Right, now when I hold shift and I resize, it's not going to do that awful snapping. Alright, let's check. So close. Yeah, that'll do. Oh, I'm such a perfectionist. Yeah, that'll do. Alright, and then again I'm going to label it, it's not the label, there we go, jump. Okay, so now we've got the first frame of each of those animations. We then need to convert each of these into their own symbol. So if I wanted to do idle, if idle for me is still a bit of movement, I would select that frame by clicking on it, left click, yeah, and we'll right click, convert to symbol. Now when this little window pops up, you just want to choose a name that you know relates to your animation. So I'm just going to do idle, keeps it really simple, and just make sure it's a movie clip and not anything else, and then press OK. So you can see when I click off this that it is now has a blue square around it compared to like my run. That doesn't yet. So I'm going to convert that one as well. So right click, convert to symbol, I'm going to call it run, press OK. Now you can see the blue box around it. Jump, right click, convert to symbol, jump, press OK. Alright, so we got each of these. Now we're going to go into that timeline to add the rest of those frames for your run and jump or idle animation. So to do that, left click on the frame, double click on your character, and again it goes into a new timeline. So this one we're just putting in the rest of those frames. So you can do that by going F7, file, import, import to stage, and find the next one. So it's going to be a long process. You'll have to make sure that you resize it all, and just make sure it stays on the spot. Even your jump animation, do not make it move up, because the actual character itself will be going up anyway, and it doesn't need that extra movement. You just want to have the movement stay in that one spot, so it's not moving, it's kind of running or jumping on the spot. So I'm going to do a quick little animation of my own. It's literally just going to be a bouncing. I might, I don't know, make the jump kind of squish. I don't know, we'll figure it out. Right, so I'm going to show you how you can reverse frames if you need to. So at the moment, for my run animation, I've just got my little dude kind of doing this kind of movement. It's basically just going to be doing a bit of that, right? But at the moment, if I play it, it looks a little bit jumpy because it's literally skipping to the start again. It's not going backwards on its frames. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these frames. So click and drag, so you select them. You right click, you're going to copy the frames. You're going to go to the next frame across, right click and paste frames. And so at the moment it's literally just repeating it. Then I'm going to select those 3 frames, I'm going to right click and I am going to reverse frames. And so now, it's still not great, but you know, that'll do. Another thing that we can do is we can slow down the frame rate. So if we have a look over at our documents, so just make sure you're on your documents, frames per second, mine's at 30, you might actually want to bring that down to 12. You can do 24 frames per second. It's easier if you just click on it. And this actually kind of slows down. Yeah, it kind of slows it down. So I'm going to keep adding some animation to this. So I've got my animation here. I'm quite happy with it. When I press play, it loops. I can kind of see what that's going to look like. Now, to go back to the timeline of my character, so where I've got my idle, my run, my jump, I just need to use the black arrow key and I just need to double click away from the space. So over here. So at the moment, on run is this little animation here. So I'm going to do the same for jump. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going to double click on the little character, and I'm again make sure that you don't physically move your character up as such. You just want to kind of have the movement of the body of the character, but you want to keep it in that spot. So go ahead. You're going to have to go F7 to make a new frame. An empty frame, go file, import to stage, and start importing the rest of your frames. Alright. Alright, so I've got the first part of my animation, so I'm kind of making it look like so it stretches up to jump, and then I'm going to make it land, so I'm just going to reverse those frames. So I'm going to select those frames first, so click and drag, right click, copy frames, go to the next frame, right click, paste frames, select those frames, right click and reverse those frames. So if I play it, oops. And with the land, I'm actually going to make it so it kind of squishes a little bit. Cool. Alright, so now to go back to the original timeline with your character, you want to use the back arrow tool, double click on the side here. So we got run, jump, and idle, and to go into each of those you just got to click on the frame, double click on your character, and it will go into that timeline. So run, jump, and if you've done anything but idle, I haven't. Okay, to go back to actions, you need to go to the actions layer that it's got, and you're going to right click on it and go to actions. So what we're going to do in actions is we're going to add the extra code to tell the program to go to and play certain animations when certain keys are pressed. So this function that I've got on the screen right now is what you'll need to go and edit. So you'll have this function, so have a look. So function move in direction of key. If up is pressed, then the player.y will go up. So you've got that already, but underneath that you need to put in player.go to and stop brackets, and then put in the number of the frame that the animation for your jump is on. So for me, if you remember, it's frame 3, so I put 3 brackets and then semicolon, and you just want to repeat that for your down, your left, and your right. We also need to edit the code when the keys are not being pressed. So if you go down in your actions, you'll see function unset key pressed, and you will need to add in the player dot go to and stop bracket, and you're going to put in the frame number of your idle. Okay, so for me that's 1, and I do that for all of them. So basically if the keyboard, the up key is not being pressed, then it reverts to the idle animation, etc. So go give that a go. You'll notice though, when you go Control Enter and you haven't clicked on it, you haven't pressed the keys yet, it will just still run through all the animations. So to stop that, you need to go back to your timeline. In your timeline, you'll need to select Player MC, double click into that timeline, and then on idle, you need to right click, go to actions, and you are literally typing in stop, open bracket, close bracket, semicolon. That's all you need to do. So now you can see that when you go Control Enter, nothing happens. It's not running through the animation. And when you click on it and you go to the right, it should do your run. And when you let go, it should go to your idle. When you go to the left, it should go left and do the run cycle. When you let go, it should go back to idle. When you do jump, it should go up and it should do a jumping animation. And when you let go, it should go to idle. And when you go down, it should just be idle. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to add a title sequence. So you're in your normal timeline. What we're going to do is we're going to press F5 to push these forward. So click on them, press F5, push them forward, and then here we're going to press F6. Just to make sure that they're own little frame. And we're just going to make sure with our actions here that we click on it once, yeah, and then we click again, but we hold it down this time and drag it across. And so now our actions are here. What we're going to do is we are going to do a stop action on this frame here. So we're going to right click, action, stop, open bracket, close bracket, semicolon, and then we're going to add in our button, our start button. So we don't need the player MC, so we're going to delete that. Don't fret, it's still there, okay? But we've got a start button. I've just added that in. You just make a new layer, name it start button, and you're going to import your button just as normal. So you can also add in your background as well, and any other imagery that you'd like to have for your title. So I'm just going to do a rectangle with the word start on it. So I'm just going to quickly do that. So When you bring your start button in, you do need to make sure that it is the same as when you brought in your character. So the button itself needs to be separate from the background, and it needs to have no background or a transparent background. You may, if it's not a nice shape like this where you can crop it quite close to the button if it's quite organic, you will need to right click break apart just like you did with your character and use the black arrow key to remove any of the transparent background. Once you've done that though, what we're going to do is we're going to select all of the things that make the buttons. So I don't want the background or anything. Oh whoops, I actually put my button on the background, so I'm going to change that. Control X, go to start button, right click, paste in place. There you go, crisis averted. And so you're selecting everything that makes your button, alright, and we're going to right click, convert to symbol, just like you did with your character, except this time instead of naming it player or anything like that, you're just going to call it start. And you need to make sure that you change the movie clip option to button, and you're going to press OK. When you've made the button, make sure that you change the instance name to whatever you want to call it. Okay, so I've called mine start. So now that we've got our button there, we need to go back into our actions that we put our stop on originally. So right click, go to actions, and underneath stop you need to put in an event listener. So basically this means that we are asking the program to listen out for a click on this button. So where it says start, start is the name of my button. So if you've chosen a different name for your button, you need to ensure that it is the same as what you've called it. And basically we're going to tell it to go to and stop onto frame 2. When you press Control Enter, it will show you your title sequence. So my title sequence only has the start button. And when you put your mouse over the button, it will show that you can click on it. And once you've clicked on it, it will go to your second frame of your animation, which is the start of your game. Okay, so if you are at this stage where you've got your start button, you've got your player MC, all of the actions work, then what I would like you to do until next lesson is start putting your backgrounds in. So you've got your background for your title. You could add little bits of animation into here if you want. You just need to make sure that those animations are converted into a symbol, and then you enter that movie clip timeline and finish off your animation in there, just like you did with your character animations. But yeah, I would really like to see a really pretty title sequence, and if you even get to that, I would like to start seeing a background and perhaps even start putting your platforms in. If you do that though, make sure that your platforms have no backgrounds associated to them. Again, transparent backgrounds, and I'll see you next lesson, guys. Thanks.